This is 2350 lab, Wednesday lab, and we are looking at lab assignment 3 type. Right now we set up 4 artboards that have been edited and changed the sizes. The first artboard is 8.5 by 11, and the rest are, the second one is 500 pixels wide by 400 pixels in height. And the artboard 3 and 4 are both 500 pixels wide by 300 pixels height. Okay, so we will go ahead and I will actually close my artboards. I don't need them, and we save the document. You can see the naming here. And if you notice already practicing for the quiz, the type is much more powerful. There's so many more options you have working with type in Illustrator than you have in other programs. Because it is designed for, like logo design, and you're working with type. Logo design, from your lecture, it's a combination of art and science, really. Okay, that's what logo is. So you will see features, logo. Now, when you're working extensively with type, let's say you're doing a publication, that's where you would use InDesign and not Illustrator, okay, for extensive amount of text. It's like publication, books, flyers, and so on. You go into InDesign and do it. But, you can still do a few things. So let us go ahead and look at the type tool. T is for type tool. And we have several options under the type tool, right? The first one is just, you can type to a point. And this is all in horizontal direction. The 3 ones. Area type tool, typing within an object. The type on a path tool, types, like the name suggests, on a path. And then we can go vertical, and then you have the touch type tool, which I asked you to do on your quiz. We will start with the first type tool, just type on a point. What I want you to do is just click and drag out. Don't click and let go, just click and drag out a box. Maybe this size. This is a bounding box we're trying to specify, okay? Now, if you have issues later on with the bounding box, we will make some options in a minute. And we will add some Lorem Ipsum text, some characters. You are welcome to go online. And I'm going to go onto Firefox and find Lorem Ipsum. There's even Lorem Ipsum bacon. Don't ask. I'm not a bacon lover, but there is one. If I can spell bacon. Okay. So we'll go into it. I will try to copy. Let's see what happens when you copy text in Illustrator. This is a good test. We can specify bacon Ipsum, okay? You can do any one. I'm just gonna give it, okay, 5 paragraphs is good. I'm just gonna do 2. Anybody hungry? And type it in. There. I typed okay. I may add another one. Actually, I'll leave it like that. So go ahead and type. I just use the 2 paragraphs of text. You can do bacon Ipsum, which is fun. And then go ahead and bring that into your box by, copying Command C, pasting Command V. So obviously you can bring more text into this, but it's, like I said, when it comes to design-wise, Illustrator is not specified for a lot of text. So a few things we can do with this one. We can change a few things, and you have some options right on top menu. When you click the T, the type tool as well, that kind of brings, still selects everything. We have the character, and we can change that. Okay, we have what kind of style it is, and then we have the size, paragraph, and so on. But we also have other options if you right click on your type, and we also have, like the font used, recent fonts, and size, right? Well, this is not really a lot. If you want to have more options, you will actually go under your window, type, and you have character styles, paragraph styles. Now styles is something you define and use throughout. Very important when you when you in 2351 class, I mean 3351 class, you'll be using InDesign and styles. So let me go ahead and let us go ahead and just start with the character. Let's just Command T, and it pulls up few things. It pulls up character, paragraph, Opentype. Remember on your difference between Opentype and TrueType? Okay, from your lecture, what is the difference? What is Opentype? Who developed it first? I'll wait. I just may have to do this tutorial really quickly. Well, you need to review that. It's very important to know. Opentype gives you more options when working with TrueType. Just know that, okay? Originally, I mean, TrueType was developed by Windows, and Opentype, I think, was Adobe. I gotta look it up too, I guess. All right, so character. Let's click on the character. So this is actually, you know, not, some people call it a font. Font is actually a place where you get the type. So we can change our character to anything. So go ahead and choose one. We have a lot of them here that we purchased. So I will choose one. Make it something that's readable and quite not too small, because we'll be making changes to it, okay? I'm just use this one, Safa. So change the size. Next thing we will be doing, so did you choose one? Is few options we have here. We have the font size. This is called not leading, letting. Okay, because it comes from the storage of movable type, was actually placed in between pieces of lead. We have kerning, which adjusts space between letters, so characters, and then tracking adjusts space between words. So we'll see how that works. Right now, with everything selected still, we will change the size, okay? So keep going, keep going, keep going. Notice what happens. I don't have enough space, right? When you get that red plus, that means you need to make more space for it. So let us keep going for now. I'm gonna make it pretty big. That might be too big. We'll see. That's good. 17, depending on your font. So now, if I select now, I want to see the rest of my type. If I select my selection tool and I drag it out, that this happened to you? Drag it out. See, I drag out the bottom of the selection tool. Everybody good? So you can see the rest of your text. Let's drag it out right underneath it. Okay. If not, there'll be another thing we need to do. And I want you to check this for me. This happens all the time. It happened earlier today. Go under View and make sure, see, it says Hide Bounding Box. Make sure it doesn't say Show Bounding Box. If it does say Show Bounding Box, click it. If it says Hide it, leave it alone. Okay, that's important. Okay, so we changed the font. Wow, that's a lot of work. We can go ahead and let us select the first actually the first paragraph only. Okay, do you notice that the leading is more than your type? And that's actually pretty standard for graphic. They always add a size and a half for the leading. Leading is the space between lines of text, and it's measured from baseline to baseline. What I mean by that, let me show you. See how this set sits on, and then this next line sits on this. So leading is the space that is measured from that pink, on mine is pink, from that space, the bottom of the top character, to the next one. That makes sense? So that's what leading measures. That's the distance. So again, I'm going to select those two lines. And in design, leading matters. You will have, see, wrong box. You will have more leading when it comes to like type, and then less leading when it comes to maybe doing headings. Because when you do headings and they have 2 lines, you probably want to decrease that, right? You don't want them to be too much space for readability. Okay, go back to this one. It's acting funny right now for me. Let me go back, and it keeps creating new box for some reason. Okay, back to you. And let us go ahead and increase leading. Now you can see there are different options. You have manual, like 1 by 1. You can type it in. You can use your mouse and then go inside the letters and then increase it or decrease it. You see what happens? Okay, you can click on a side of that pull down menu and you can choose preset. So right now I guess 30 would be good. I want you to select, click on 30, so it's like more space. Okay, and then the second paragraph we're gonna make it 10. Let's see how 10 looks like. Looks really close to it. Can type. So 10 looks like this for me. Okay, so you kind of can see what it's doing. So now you get the idea for leading, right? This is way too close unless you're doing some kind of effect. Okay, next thing, I don't know if you noticed, let's zoom into your text so you can actually see it very well. And now we can actually increase the size of the top line. So the top line, go ahead and select it. Not even the whole line. You can just select, you can select few words. Just select it. And go ahead, change your type size to, let's do 21, maybe more. 24. Okay. And I will remove my lines so you can see it. Now, anytime, I don't know how many of you actually pay attention to type, but type, sometimes the spacing may not be even between letters. This one's pretty good, but notice between like some letters like BA and AC, there might be letters that are closer, that are farther away, and you need to modify it. So I will, if you have Bacon, everybody has Bacon Ipsum, so I will put a cursor right between B and A. And I will go into my characters, and this time I'm gonna go to my tracking, and I want you to see when I go in the middle there and then use my mouse and decrease it. See what happens? See how it moves? You just do it for yourself. You see that? So you can go negative. I want your B and A touch. Okay, don't overlap it, touch it. So I'm like negative 88 on that. So that is kerning, adjusts the space between letters. Okay? Then, so think about this when you are designing, when you cover, for your cereal box, because that is helpful when you work with type. Also, the next part of your assignment will be logo design. So think about how that would help you. Okay? Then let us decrease the space between, actually increase the space between C and O. So go ahead, put a cursor right between those, and then we will actually increase the space. So it's back on. So it became a new word. Okay, back on, yeah, for me. Now let us continue on selecting the next line. I'm gonna leave these two alone, and I will select several. You can do 1 line or 2, whichever. I'm going to select the next kind of part. Right? And I show you how tracking works. So if you go between the next, this is tracking. If you go in it in your mouse, try to increase it. You see what happens? Increase the space between words and also the letters. You see that? So go ahead and increase this to like pretty big. I'm around 270. Okay. So it doesn't do it only 1 by 1 letter. It does all of them, right? Because the spacing between them. So the spacing is adjusted between like space. And then let's select the last one here, or whatever one you have. And we will decrease tracking. So make it negative. Okay. I don't want it to like all smash together, so I will go negative 55. Okay, negative 50. So you can already see some options you have when it comes to type. Okay. Another thing we can do, if you have your bounding box showing, go ahead and drag the line. You see what I did? With your direct selection tool. Select your direct selection tool. Actually, maybe let's do the top one. Okay. I will select the top one and move it. So you see what is happening? What is happening? The type is conforming to that bounding box. Now, this will not work if you don't have the bounding box. Make sure it's showing, okay? If you can do it, if it doesn't let you select it, that means your view, it says show bounding box, and you need to click that, okay? A few things we can do with type. We can actually change the color fill. So I want you to select just the biggest type you have on there. So don't miss this part. Okay, select it. And go ahead and change the text. Go to your swatches. You should have your swatches. If not, go ahead and get them. And we will change it. I'm going to do like a orange-red. Okay, so change the fill. Okay. So when you change the fill, next thing I want you to change is a stroke. So select the stroke. And then select a different color. I will select, it'll be Christmas colors, red and green. So I select green. And now we can go ahead and change the size of the stroke right on top. So go ahead and increase it. I can't really see the red. Maybe I will not decrease it. Undo. So I actually have a red fill on the biggest text. It's not really pretty. So it's a red fill and kind of bluish green stroke. Okay. So things you can do to it as well. Okay. Let us go ahead and save the document. Now what I want you to do now, we won't be showing the whole thing, but I will move my box off the way a little bit. Okay, just make it smaller so it fits. We need some space. We need to leave space for the rest, what we're gonna do here. So only utilize half of your page for this text. Okay. Next, go ahead and pull up your shapes. Go to your shape, and I want you to select the polygonal tool. And go ahead and draw on this part of the text, not the whole space, just part of it. Hold the shift key when you draw it out. Don't make it too big. Okay. Now we will use this shape to create a text that is typed inside of it. So typed inside an area. Okay. Now one thing to keep in mind, anytime you use a shape for text, it becomes part of the text and it's not a shape anymore. So if you need to reuse this shape, you would have to duplicate it. Very important to know. Otherwise you have to redraw it after you finish. Okay? So anytime this becomes part of the text, it's not a shape anymore. It's text. You'll see what I mean. So go ahead and select the type tool and go to area type tool. Okay? Then click right in the side, the area like this. See, cursor comes up. I want you to change the size of text. So it should be the last one you used. Change it up to make it like 12. 12 points is fine. And you can type, even paste in it. So Command V. You should have the text still pasted. So you can see here how this is actually conforming to the size of my text. Really cool for logo design, right? So go ahead and select your ellipse and draw a perfect circle holding the shift key. leave the size as 12 and navigate to your type tools and select type on a path tool. Now it's important, notice what happens to the cursor. I don't know if you can see. It's important to see which way you are going or where you start. Okay, so this is like a point, starting point. I would probably do one from next to that point, anchor point on top. I'm going to do it slightly to the right side. Click on it. Now if you have text, let us go ahead and just type something like hello world, doesn't matter. And then keep repeating it. So I'm going to copy and paste that. Oh, maybe not that. Don't copy it all the way to the end. Just leave some space. One thing, again, what happened to my circle when it became, is it shape anymore or is it part of type? Exactly, important. Now, if I click on this with my selection tool, do you see, actually, do you see the 3 bars? Can you see that? We have the closing, when the text begins, and when the text closes. So if I move this, see what I mean? Move that a little bit, the first one. There should be 2 handlebars. You can move them with the selection tool. Okay, and there's one in the middle. They all have purpose. The one in the front of the text is the one that tells you the position where you start typing. And you can move that. The one at the end, again, it just moves at the end, right, where you finish the text. Right. Now the middle, the one between the two, allows you to flip your text. So if I select it, notice what I'm doing. I can select, hold it, and flip it on the middle. So now my text is not upside down. So try that. Viewing, if you're behind, you can wait. I want you to just use a brush, just a regular brush, and I want you to do like a lines, like, you know, don't have to be perfect, like this. Just go for it, right? Do something. I would not make them to touch too much though, right? And then I want you to select the area, no, not the area, the type on the path tool, and then start in the beginning. So notice where I'm at, beginning. It changes for me. And go ahead, you can paste the text you did or type something else in it. So you notice how type on the path will conform to any way you type. Kind of cool, huh? You can work with that. With that, I will move on to my next artboard. I will keep closing my artboards. Let me bring it up and go to 2. You already had to do the type on touchpad type. So I want you to select the touch type tool. Actually, you don't have to select it yet because we need to type something. So for now, I want you to type your full name. So just select the regular type tool, T, and type your full name. And I want you to select, yeah, just do that. You just click and type, okay? Right. Now, if I drag it out, notice what happens if I drag it out. If you click, see what I did? So when you click and you type without making the box that we did the first time, allows you to change the size of text, you see? If I did this way, the box, and I select it now, it doesn't work. That's the difference. One is just typing in, one is drawing the box to fit the text, okay? So with that, let us go ahead and select the touch type tool. And you already know this, so go ahead and make some changes to your text. We will go ahead, manipulate some letters, and you notice here we have Different things do different things. So we can actually increase the size by dragging that corner. Right. Then I will select my second letter. Okay. And I can do this side to minimize it. So one increases it, the right top side increases, the left top side makes it smaller. Okay. Let's choose N. The top of the N in the middle is rotation. Now, what do you think you want to do after that? You can probably move it. So you can move it, okay? So we actually are adjusting kerning already by the touch type tool. Touch type tool was introduced in 2014, CC 2014. Okay, we're on 15 right now. All right, the next one, let's do I because I want to move it. Let's move the I. For me, I mean, you can have your name, so whatever your name is. Now, the bottom ones, they will adjust the width and height. So if I select the one on the right, it will adjust the width. And then I'm going to move it closer. The next letter, let's choose the bottom left. That moves it. Actually, it's supposed to, okay. So you get the drift? How that works? Okay. So have fun with your name, make some rotations, flip it up, adjust the space, the size. We can move it down as well. Other things you can do, you can move the letters out of proportion. Trust me, this is much easier. In the past, you have to do few things to do this. Okay. Now, when you're working with fonts, if someone has a different font on your computer, let's say you don't have the standard fonts, I will not be able to see your work because I didn't purchase them. Some of them you can download. So keep that in mind that if you're working with type, if they don't have the standard font, let's say you're using specific one, like I call it Cinderella type. There's probably a Cinderella text somewhere. So what happens is it will not show up for somebody else. So when you do a type assignment for me, there's something else you need to do, and that is called creating outlines, making it into a graphic, which we're gonna do next underneath this. Okay, so right underneath your name, I want you to select just regular point type tool. Okay, then I want you to select from your character type, select a pretty bold text that is not too squished, so something bold. I think I'm gonna do Rockwell extra bold. Oh, actually, don't change this one. Unselect it. Remember that? If you don't select it, unselect this one. And then select. I'm going to select that Rockwell extra bold text. There it is. Okay. And select your type tool and then click. And I want you to type hello world. All caps. Now it's a little bit too big, so what can we do? We can make it smaller, right? You can do it here, or make sure like you can see it. It fits. So there it is. It's our text. Now again, I told you if you don't have a Rockwell at home, I mean, we purchase fonts here. You don't have one. You come home like, what happened? Why is it like all my text like in pink, or it's not showing up correctly? That's because something has to happen. Now notice by text by default is vector, but we can make it into a vector graphic. It's not a graphic right now. So if I want to make any changes, like object changes, there's some things I'm not allowed to do, right? Because it's just text. So what we're going to do with this one, we will make it into an outline, which is a graphic. That's what it's called. One way to do so is under type. It says create outlines, or you can just right click, faster way, right click on the text and choose create outlines. Do you notice what happened? It gave you anchor points. So that means now this became a graphic. It's not type anymore. The advantage of it, you can manipulate it for logo design. It's awesome. But Once this is a font, and later on when you do more and you forget what font it was, what happens? You can go back because you won't remember. So I always put notes on the side writing what kind of font. If I have a client asking me to do something, I write on the side of it, like on the pasteboard, what font I use, just in case. Because once this is an outline, it's not a font anymore. Okay. So with that, we can actually select, with the direct selection tool, we can select individual anchors and manipulate them. So go ahead and select from the H top, select that first anchor, click on that point, and move it. So I'm creating, and then the second one. So go ahead and make some changes to your letters. Maybe not this one. There. Okay? I just want you to adjust it. Now you can move them as well. But that's the advantage of creating outlines. It actually converts it into a graphic with anchor points that you can edit. And you need to click on that point specifically in order to adjust it. If you don't, you have to click on that, okay? Because it will select the whole thing. All right? And then continue on with the words. And we are done for those few parts.